we don't lose the license. So proft, and everybody gets to come here tomorrow, and there's no lock on the door. So it's exciting for me to come here for a podcast. Now, podcasts are a little different. We will have commercials eventually. I think we have a couple now. I'm not quite sure how it's going to work, but it's not a structured commercial break. So really what this is, it's an hour or less of banter between me and you, or more if the conversation warrants it. And the nice thing is there's only one call screener, so you'll pretty much get to talk about what you want to talk about. I'd like you to stay on topic, but, it's the maiden voyage. I don't expect too many people to be up on it. But one of the reasons that I was given this is that I couldn't call Dan and Amy more than once a day. And there were so many different topics that I wanted to call about. So if you've listened to me, one of the problems and one of the reasons I think we are here, as not just the state of Illinois, but as the country, is that we have allowed Republicans to not stand for anything. We have allowed guys who we pretend are on our team and share our fundamentals to do things contrary to our beliefs, contrary to our ideology. And we've been slow cooked because we're the citizens. We're the ones who actually make the world go round. And we're busy with our lives. We're busy with work. And here it is, 2018, and we are more socialist now than ever imagined by the communists who infiltrated us really since the 20s. They have been very successful. So much so that we have Bernie Sanders, an outright Soviet, is the darling of the Democrats. So much so that we have Ocasio-Cortez, a virtual moron who is just praising utopia and the idea of some equality of which we were never meant to be equal. That's the beauty of individuality. What separates us from all the other countries is that we're built upon the unalienable rights of you, right? Not the collective utopian statism dream of, I don't know what healthcare as a right looks like. So how do you get it back? Now, my thing is, I've gone after our side because I think that a saboteur is far worse than an opponent. The opponent you can argue with based on fundamentals and principles. But the saboteurs to our belief structure, the guys like Hassert, right? And I talk about Hassert because if you're from Illinois and you realize what Hassert was, this guy was Speaker of the House, right? He sold himself as the quintessential every man's politician, wrestling coach, the whole nine yards. You find out that he turned out to be a pedophile, which is one thing in itself. It's despicable and disgraceful, and it's a shame he only went to prison for a couple of years. But what else did Hassert do? Hassert became a multi-millionaire. Not only did he become a multi-millionaire, his virtual illiterate, one of his sons, moron, was set up in a family storefront business. I don't know if they rented videos or some just go to work and get out of the house nonsense that daddy pays for. What does he do? He becomes a lobbyist. And the lobbyists, this is the problem that is incestuous in our politics. And this is almost the problem of where, you get pulled off into these issues per day, this buckshot of different issues, and you stop talking about what's the real issue. And the real issue is that you've got this small body of politicians that have seized arbitrary power over each and every one of us. And they have been allowed not to just prostitute that power to enrich very select few. They've been allowed to put those few in the position. So they're relatives, right? So you have corruption by proxy, where they say, well, sure, I've only raised like every other. I'm an average of what congressmen raise. Well, then what about Haster's son, who's set up as a lobbyist and has become worth millions when he couldn't spell millions? If I gave him the two L's and an S, couldn't do it. But he sits there, his little daddy sits there, and he is the pimp of the political prostitution. We all can agree. Everybody, Democrats, Republicans, independents, libertarians, you're selling the power and you're enriching that few. The problem is that few is growing and it is overtaking the rest of us. And it's not just Hassert. I mean, we could spend an hour on Gutierrez, the Puerto Rican socialist, his wife with the $400,000 job, the insane TIF agreements here in the city of Chicago, the insane profiting of the infrastructure that every politician loves and hopes you buy. But how do you cure it. You cure it with Republicans. Now, what happens in election season is that you're in a quandary at election season. How do you cope with it? And I'll tell you what, Dan Proft had a great segment today with two Republicans that I formally said, listen, these guys are the problem. They're the reason we're here. And that's Peter Roskam and the guy from Indiana, Braun, I think his name is. I don't even have a producer that I could ask. Are you even paying attention in there, kid? You listening to the show? You don't know. I don't know what it is you do here. But anyway, so I have railed for really, 6, 7, 8 months about a guy like Peter Roskam, who has an election season, told you he's a conservative, told you he's a Republican, but elected in 2006, and pretty much he didn't do anything terrible. It's not like Peter Roskam said, I'm going to intentionally hurt. That's not the case at all. But he didn't do anything special either. And what I wanted was somebody to go to Washington and say, no. This bank bailout, these special targeted loans, this manipulation, an insane amount of spending and debt, I'm going to stand against it like Lieutenant Dan in a hurricane. I'm going to fight it, and I'm not going to go along with it. So he didn't do that. But he didn't do anything particularly bad. He just went along with the program. And here we are right now, faced with his opponent, who for all intensive purposes is absolutely and completely terrible, beyond terrible. This is a guy that not only is preaching a version of socialism that he knows he can't deliver, but he hopes the stupid people will buy. See, what they sell is they want to pander to the self-loathing failures out there, and they want to capitalize on their actual greed. Because the real greed isn't with the capitalist fighting to keep his own money. The real greed is with the failure hoping to steal the property of those who have more than them. See, that's the definition, the quintessential greed. That's what it looks like. So here we are with Shaun Caston, who comes and sells this utopian vision, right? And everybody says, well, he's not too bad. Look at him. And besides that, he's a businessman. Well, you got to look at that, right? Because just because you're in business doesn't mean you're a businessman. In fact, it goes to what we were talking about. He's a proxy. He's corruption by proxy. So the business that Shaun Caston is in shouldn't exist, wouldn't exist if it wasn't regulated into business, right? He's in a green energy scam business. Now, the thing about green energy is that they've realized that therefore living, you are guilty. Therefore existing, you are contributing to the destruction of Earth, and nobody wants that. Everybody wants to help, and everybody wants to be a part of the solution, not the problem. So you're susceptible to this scam, and that's all it is. It's a money scam. It's about using life as a weapon to extort and penalize against anybody you choose. So they have the green energy industry, which is the perfect example of a government-strong tyranny, which is why the Nazis are the one that came up with it. This isn't this environmental Nazism was actually created by the Nazis, who were able to mandate and seize property back then based on inefficiency and pollution of the air. Well, now they've broken it down to the individual. So Shaun Caston, whatever, his name isn't worthy, has this created industry where he's, by the way, a legacy into it. Father connected with Chicago Democrats, him and the brother, and they're handed this industry. Now, this industry exists because it's mandated that it must exist, and you, the people, pay for it, so it's subsidized. And the regulatory bureaucracy, who really are SS troopers of enforcement, they make sure that everyone bends knee to this industry. Now what this industry does is it grows because it's subsidized and because it spreads its power, it gets more omnipotent in your life. It grows and grows and grows until he can sell it. Now, who does he sell it to? Sure, another pay-to-play scam artist who's just a little better at it. And that's what happens, and he cashes out, and next thing you know, old Jed's a millionaire. And here he is, and now he can run for office and say, I'm a businessman, I'm a successful businessman. But if you were to look at the numbers, and you could research this, litigation by disgruntled partners, litigation by disgruntled contractors, that's one thing, and that has a tendency to happen by itself in nature through business. I don't condemn the guy for that. You don't know the inner workings of his contract. But one thing is for sure, if you fungigate the subsidies, if you fungigate the regulations to what he actually did in his business, it's a loser. It's a bankrupt business, not real. But now he gets to run on this successful business because he sold it for a lot of money, and he's a millionaire, and he could pretend he did it the way we all hope to do it, which is by actually creating value. I mean, there are some scam artists out there. We all know that. But that's his entire target for his career, was that scam of green energy. And now what they can do once they're elected is they can use that as a baton, as a weapon against you forever. Forever they can use it. And so he's going to get in, or I don't know if he's going to get in. They said today that the polls are tightening. So you're at this quandary of what do you do in this scenario? I've got Peter Roskam, who hasn't done bad, but hasn't really done good. Pretty much been a step and fetch for whatever agenda, whether it was John Bainer, whether it's Paul Ryan. Pretty much in for a penny, in for a pound when it comes to spending and borrowing, aside from the election year complaints. You got him, and you got Caston, who is an eco-Nazi. Not only that, feels that only his vision is to be entertained. Only his policies are to be abided by. So you in Illinois, we have a decision to make, and that is to support the lesser of two evils. I don't buy it, but you must in certain cases, and in Congress, that's more important than governor. So you can have two philosophies. You can support Peter Roskam, and you can reject 7 foot of stupid Rauner. And this, to me, is the real issue. You can have both views, because this is, I've often been baffled by people who say, I vote straight party line. And they say it like it's a point of morality, like it's a position to admire. I think that's the dumbest among us. The dumbest among us. You're pretty much the useful idiot that every party hopes for. I'm going to vote straight Republican. I'm going to vote straight Democrat. Absolutely not. The most important thing to do in this election cycle is not be a useful idiot, but to be effective in protecting and preserving your rights, to protecting and preserving capitalism, because this is the thing. This is why I'm such a fanatic when it comes to Trump, when I reject Trumponomics, because I see it for Keynesianism. It's always about property. The only thing, the only benefit is that as an American, you have property over your life. That's what makes us different. And if you don't have property over your life, your wages that you earn, your intellectual, the benefits of being who you are is attacked by those who feel you have too much, by those who feel you don't have enough even. See, that's the other thing. Poor people think that socialism is just about taking away from people who have more than them. It's not. It's about controlling even the poor. See, that's the beauty of a free society. If you choose, and I've always believed this. I remember as a kid, even though sometimes as a grown man, you look at the hobo, the romanticism of the Depression era hobo. He had the right to be free. He had the right not to do anything. There were consequences, and there were repercussions for that. That is, that he lived like a bum. But maybe for some of them, that was their dream. See, but in a socialist society, they use the underachiever. They use the bum. They use the unable, the sick, the indigent, the malcontents, the miscreants. They use them as weapons against the people who maybe say, God, I work awful hard and I've done good, but I don't need all this, right? So they try to build that wedge into your pride in yourself and to instill a little guilt so that you let this creep in. And what the politician knows is that once it does two things. It forever takes away your feeling of property and your independence and the pride in yourself. But moreover, it makes whoever is in charge of the government a god. It makes them gods. That's why so many politicians support socialism. They're the gods among us. And they realize that. And that power, it's more valuable than just the $3 billion that J.B. Pritzker is worth. He's had that his whole life. He doesn't know the difference, J.B. Pritzker. But what he wants is the power over you, the power of that position. Because what he realizes is once in that position, he is a god among men. The problem is that's not what America is. That's not what it's supposed to be. We've been slow cooked to where that's what it's become. Which is why you have to fight sometimes guys who are on your side when they do things that abuse that power. Which is why I think it's imperative when you don't have to pick and choose the lesser of two evils, when you don't have to pick and choose Roskam, and you don't, okay, I'll take them, but I'm not going to take Rauner, which is the philosophy I think you should use. But more importantly, it's why when you're not in that election season, you have to reject Republican tyranny in the same fashion you rejected Democrat tyranny. And this gets me in a lot of trouble. I see it sometimes on my Facebook. I see it at the very first Freedom Summits in 2016. I saw it at this one. For instance, they took a picture of me and Amy and Dan on stage, and one of the guys put, too many never Trumpers there. And if you've listened to me, and I have people in the radio station that I was one of the original guys who said, hey, this wouldn't be too bad to have Trump on. It was as I heard the specificity of some of his issues, I said, whoa. That's not capitalism. So I can have Trump and say, God, I'm glad he's in, right? I'm glad he's in. I like a lot of what he does. But I can also say when he's about to do fiat presidency, I can reject that. Why is it that has become less and less of what a Republican is, less and less of what our party is? So to this day, when I'm around Republicans en masse, what do you stand for? What do you stand for? When you can say, okay, I know I talked about debt. I know I talked about spending. That was before now. Now our guys got everything, so now I don't talk about debt. Now I don't talk about spending. Now I don't talk about fiat presidencies. And I get it. And I get it in this time of tragedy when this bomber with the synagogue shooter, listen, you got to stick up for Trump. I get it. I don't reject everything this guy. I feel he's victimized. But I also feel if you step back for a moment, you see how overall we're constantly put in this two-party shirts and skins position rather than saying, wait a minute, you're just looking to regain your power. And this is what the tragedy leeches are, the media. They're tragedy leeches because they don't stand for anything different than they did prior to this terrorism. They don't stand for one thing different. They're just calling for you to disarm yourself and compromise and capitulate your fundamentals. But what you see is the ignorance and the vitriol for one man that they've lost their way to decipher what the issues are. And for a minute, the synagogue, let's focus on the synagogue for one thing. There has never been a president more pro-Jewish in my lifetime. And I don't even think, you could say during when Israel, the forming of Israel, maybe, but not like this. Not like this. Not somebody who has had his daughter convert to Judaism. Not somebody who's had grandkids who are Jewish grandkids. Not somebody who has actually done the things that other presidents have promised with Jerusalem. You can never look at a guy as president and say, there has never been a more, in fact, I think it's one-sided. There are some of the policies I absolutely disagree with. We give Israel $10.1 million a day for defense. What? Why are we giving him $10.1 million a day? But he does it. Trump has never wavered. In fact, he's talked about increasing money to Israel as he looks at the overall failed foreign policy of the nation over 70 years. So one thing is for sure is that in his agenda, he is extremely pro-Israel. Yet what is the first thing? The media is pretty much inhabited, owned by a lot of people who happen to be Jewish. When they have the opportunity to praise a guy who has been extremely favorable to Israel, what do? They turn against him. Not only do they turn against him, they try to abuse him when they know that his agenda has been pretty much that of it's going to be one-sided for your people. It's almost the sense of you hate him so much you can't do what's better for your kids. Because you could argue that the policies of Israel, they're not about this generation we're in, they're about the generation that will be, the next generation. That's why I find it so disheartening when Trump does something that I think hurts the generation behind us. And by that, I mean a lot of Trumponomics. So I don't know when we've lost the ability to say, this policy is good, this policy is bad. Instead, we can only say, I'm Republican straight ticket, I'm Democrat straight ticket. I have an overall problem with that. You should see in the other room. So here's how this works. We can take calls. And I said, it won't be too bad. We'll start the show. We'll probably get a couple of calls, and we'll go on topic there. So the guys in there, who, by the way, radio guys have a unique sense of humor. It's that dry sense of humor, where they want you, they kind of looking at you, and boy, they hope you crash and burn. But they're going to answer the phone when you call. So give us a call, 312-642-5600. Now, let's talk about the things where I think it's crucially important to fight against regardless of party. And that is freedom and liberty. That's why the show's called the Liberty Hour. That's why my real estate company is called Liberty Real Estate Services. That's why I've never really worked for anybody since I'm 21 until right now, where I work on this. So what we're going to do is, as you know, early on, we got calls? Oh, boy. I know. Why do I think I know who this is? All right. Got a lot of calls. All right, let's go to George, line 1. George, how are you, buddy? I can't hear you, babe. Hey, kid, you with the girl's jeans on. Is there a button you're supposed to hit here? I can't hear George. All right. Oh, we got the big guy in here. How do you hear George? George, are you there? Maybe he's just not there. Let's go to call 2. George, you would have been the first caller. You blew it, buddy. You blew it. You could have been the first caller. This show is going to be magnificent. All right, let's drop George. Look at how I'm doing this. Now we're going to take Bob. Bob, how are you, buddy? Can't hear Bob. So, George, I apologize. It wasn't your fault. It was my fault. You will still be considered the first caller on the maiden voyage. This is the thing about our new medium, is that we're going to work out glitches, and this would be one of the glitches. But we're going to take your calls as soon as we get this all ironed out. And then here's the other thing I want to tell you, as long as we got you where you're paying attention to what's going to happen. Eventually, now I hear nothing. There we go. Eventually, this show will be at my cigar store. Now, here's the thing about the cigar store. I can smoke in there. Oh, I love when I can smoke and yell at people and talk about issues. This is my life. So for me, whether it works or not, it's a dream come true, baby. Whether I make 2 cents or lose $20, it's a dream come true. And here's the other thing. If you as a listener or a caller have an issue, I might possibly get you in there and interview you in the cigar store with the cigar. And this is where I'm going to love it, because if you do something I don't like, I get to do my favorite thing about owning a business. And it's not losing money every month, which I seem to do. It's when I get to look at you and say, get out. It's my favorite thing. Because at the Elmhurst Cigar House, we have but one rule. I promise you a communist-free smoke zone. Try the phones again. All right. Let's go to Bob. Bob, how are you, buddy? I got nothing unless Bob's got the mute button on. So one of us. Hey, there you are. How are you, Bob?
Lost you.
Oh, there. Now I can hear you. Can you hear me? This is fun. We could be like kids back in when I used to be in the tree and we'd have the soup can and you'd be in the bush and I'd say, "Can you hear me, Bob?" And you'd say, "Can I hear you?" Are you there, buddy?
I came back.
All right. Now I could hear you. How you doing, buddy? All right. So maybe Bob's related to my wife. Could be. All right. Now I'm getting Bob in Buffalo Grove. See, I wish this could all work because I love this stuff. Bob, I'm going to have to ask you to call back. What are you going to do? I won't go to the next call until you tell me it's okay. All right? But this is the fun thing. This is like the first time you take a boat out, when you're trying to impress a girl. You say, "Just untie it, honey. I'll get it out of the harbor." And you hit every boat and every dock and you try to be cool. Yeah, it was like 1986 all over again. What do we got? Lines? All right, that's okay. If I play a clip, can I hear it? Because we want to go through the bigger point. Because I like to stay on point. You know why, Marcus? This has been annoying me since 2016 because this guy would be perfect. I really believe this. I mean, a little goofy, a little crazy. But perfect if he could reestablish the freedom in our property, the freedom in our economy. This is my biggest thing. This is why when I have the opportunity to do Joe Walsh's show, which I love to do, by the way, and I thank you for that, I try to get experts on. I try to get the Jonathan Honeggs. And that Scott Shalady, the cow guy, that's my guy, baby. I brought him here. Dan Proff never knew him. He was in my cigar store, old Merc guy arguing with an old Board of Trade guy. And I'm like, this son of a gun. There's two things you got to know about Scotch ladies. Smart as they come, and never leave a beef sandwich there when you go to the bathroom. You see the size of him? My word, he needs a Buick sticker. But good guy, smart guy. And the last time we were in, we were talking about the market. And what's nice is that being an old commodity trader, I'll get my friends that'll walk in the cigar store, and you'd never know it. You know, you look at these guys, they look like they're tatter bums because now they're all broke. They got their shirt ripped. These guys are the smartest son of a guns you've ever seen. These are guys that stood in the pit that Goldman Sachs used to say, hey, what's Woz doing? What's Dickey doing? What's Borsalino doing? These are the guys that'll come in my store. So we'll get more opinions. The line's working?
I can't hear you, so I need to hear.
Oh, okay. Should I try a caller? All right, we got two people on the line. And listen, if you get disconnected, call back because I forgot the guy's first name. I wanted him to be my first caller. Was it Bob? All right, Bob. Bob, you'll always get credit in my eyes, baby. Tony, how are you? Are you there? No, I got no Tony. This is the glitches that we're going to work out. I want to thank, first of all, as a caller, it means a lot. You take the time out of your day.
Hello?
Yeah, I could hear you, baby. Are you there?
I can't hear you.
All right, so here's how it's going to...
Ding.
All right, I could hear him. He can't hear me. But these are the glitches that make the world go round. Listen, even though I can't hear you guys, hey, now I should be able to hear you. Can you hear me, Tone? Listen, if it's any consolation, we got like the executives working on this, the guys with ties and whatnot. I don't have the kid in his sister's pants working on this. Are you there? No. What was I talking about before? Oh, we were talking about the tariffs, economy. I could hear Tony, by the way. I could hear him breathing. Thank God he's not some pervert out there. You know what I mean? Yelling at his wife. All right. Now I hit him again? All right, hit him again. Tony, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, we got the guy. You know what it is? The guy, the top executive, put the tie in the shirt, crawled under there like a mechanic. How are you, buddy?
I'm awesome. I'm great. Shaun,
Good.
I love you.
Oh,
I love your cadence.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see you on the podcast and filling in for Joe and all that. I'm going to come by the cigar store. But, hey, What does the voter do? You know, we got terrible candidates all around, Republicans and Democrats. You know, there's some libertarian candidates on the ballot, particularly where I'm at out here in Indiana. But what does the voter do when they sit down? You know,
so
you don't want them to do straight Republican. You don't want them to do straight Democrat. But then you play the chess pieces out a couple of turns.
But here's the thing,
picture-wise,
you know,
what do you do?
Tony, I'm an old man, and I got into politics when I started to actually have to get penalized, called taxes, when I started to make a little money. I said, what the hell is going on? So I started to focus on, and growing up in a neighborhood I grew up in, I know a lot of guys who are in politics. Actually, I know a lot of guys who are right now, some of them are lobbyists. So I kind of get that inside scoop, which I love. And here's the thing that a politician fears. He fears the guy who goes to the ballot, and this is why I've been doing this for years, takes the ballot and only votes for one or two people and files it blank. That sends a shiver up the party's spine. Because what they know then is that you pay attention. And you know something, Tony, what they bank on is that nobody pays attention. They really do. They hope that, because here's the thing, especially guys who are family guys. We're used to getting home and saying, okay, how bad is it? What happened? What do I need to do today? Right? And you realize I got to make money. I got to give it to the kids. I got to pay the hospital bill. I got to pay the food bill. I got to pay the car bill. Insurance went up. And you just keep going to work. That's what politicians hope for. The guy who...
Life keeps going.
So all I'm saying is let them know you know who they are. Okay? So the thing about Peter Roskam, this is my favorite race of all, because up until a week ago, I said throw the bum out. Up until a week ago. And then I reviewed who Caston was. And I reviewed who he was. And then I'm not a lesser of two evils guy, but today, in that race, you got to vote Roskam. You got to vote him. Now here, let's take the same philosophy with Bruce Raunier, 7 foot of stupid. You got to throw his ass out. Because what he did to us, the conservatives, is so outrageous, it should be illegal. And what I mean by that is, I think the greatest evil in society is when you hurt a kid. I really do, Tony.
100%.
The worst
100%.
thing, especially men, you hurt a kid, you're not a man, you're a scum, right?
Right.
What did he do? He made my tax dollars, go to kill babies. That's it. Everything else doesn't matter to me. Here's the nice thing about J.B. Pritzker. This fat slob never had a job in his life. You get him in there, there's a chance the alarm goes off and he has a stroke and we never hear from him again. There's also a chance he's the third-generation Pritzker. So you know he's a criminal. So there's maybe a chance that the FBI investigates him. And, I say he's a criminal. Why? Well, that's just not a guy yelling on a podcast. A judge in the city of Chicago said, hey, when you tried to cheat on your taxes, it's illegal. So from now on, you're a criminal. So get that fat slob in here. Maybe there's a chance he gets arrested. He wakes up and says, God, I can't do a job. I've never had a job in my life. I'm 53 years old. I ain't going to work now. And just doesn't show up. And he pulls a Blagojevich, who was so lazy and so insane, he was busy jogging and buying clothes. Not that we're going to get JB jogging unless, of course, there's some sale at Burger King. Then he'll jog.
You didn't do him a favor.
So that's my issue. Thank you very much, Tone, for calling. Tony is legitimately our first call. And you know who's on the line now, don't you? Yeah. Now, you're paying him, right? What's the break time? George, in your contract, what's the break time for you to eat snacks and make phone calls? What's that?
Contract. You're funny.
How you doing, kid?
Oh, I'm doing. How about you?
I'm having
Sounds
a good time.
Terrible.
First time. Yeah, that's
wonderful.
That's what I hope.
Yeah.
That's what I hope. It's a new medium.
As your producer, I have to say a couple of things. First of all, you've missed two gems of segues. The first of which was to bring me on right after the beef sandwich comment, and the second of which was to talk about missing meals. But that's all right.
George,
you're doing all right.
You'd love today. You'd love today because I tried to. I got Keith here. You know Keith with the hair like George Michael's, with the smirk on his face. He's just hoping that a meteor hits the whole thing. You know what I mean? He loves when things go sideways. So he's hoping.
Yeah, but that's Keith every day.
Yeah. So he's hoping that things fail. Well, now you got to understand. The kid in his sister's jeans, the kid in the Jagans, he's got the smirk on his face because he doesn't have to do anything. He's doing the Gallagher stuff. And so what that means is I've got the executives running around. You got to see these poor guys. And the ties are in, and Marcus looks unhappy. And it's great because the tension is palatable. This is right up your alley, baby. You love this stuff.
Can I tell you why you have executives doing these things?
Yeah, go ahead.
I spend 6 days a week actively avoiding Shaun Thompson.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I understand. So you're saying that's the other two. I got Jim, too, the only other Italian. See this? That's right, baby, and we're going to take over.
Is Jim a real Italian?
He's like me. He's half Italian, and that's good enough, baby. Just ask you. Who you call anything?
Just ask Elizabeth Warren.
You just say gravy, and you say, I'll take it. All right, you handsome devil. Thanks for calling the Liberty Hour for once. Thank you.
Have fun, Shaun.
Thank you. It was fun. I don't know exactly what Jim's job is. In fact, I don't know what anybody's job is. Where's that clip? I don't know what you do. Where is it? All right, let's go to Bob. Bob, thank you so much in Buffalo Grove for calling the Liberty Hour, the maiden voyage, Bob.
Yeah, I wanted to congratulate you on your inaugural broadcast. We met actually Saturday at the Freedom Fest.
Oh, I remember your voice.
Time there.
I remember.
Yeah, and over the years I've collected an assemblage of great quotes. A lot of them are engineering quotes, but then there's a few other good quotes.
Right.
You maybe heard this one, but let me offer it to you.
Go ahead.
Those who are too smart to engage in politics are punished by being governed by those who are dumber.
Oh, God, isn't that true?
And that was said by Plato.
Yeah.
And then the other classic quote that everybody's heard, and it gets me with regard to the voters in Illinois, insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. And we've got the Robotons in Illinois going to the polls, and they're going to vote straight, like you said, straight Democratic.
Bob, did you see on Uber? Uber released an article that Uber is not, listen to this, they're not charging. They're giving you free rides to the polls and back. Now, can you imagine? This is like in the 60s. You remember when Old Man Daly, they were paying bums in Ripple? Just vote Democrat?
Oh, yeah.
That's what this is for.
Or chicken, or turkeys.
You cannot, this is truly, if it wasn't so sad and pathetic and we weren't trapped here, this would be funny. It would be funny. And Shaun Caston, this clown, fraud, just so interwoven with politics, they said, you know what? Why don't you go into this business and we'll make sure, we'll funnel everything to you. Not just the money. We're going to regulate that people have to give you, have to hire you. Not only that, when you want to buy Kodak in New York, we're going to give you the loan at dirt cheap 0%. So you could buy that real estate, now package your property and sell it. It's a pump and dump that only they got in on. And this is the scam to me, because years ago I was an old-time commodity trader, and you would see that you'd be sickened and repulsed by the fact that there were some guys who had positions that they knew were coming down the pipeline, and they made millions of dollars on it. It was called front running or inside trading. Now it's legal, and the guys who get to profit from it are the guys making the decisions, the politicians and their closest friends. That's why I talk about that book, Secret Empires, and you heard Dan and Amy had him on yesterday. I don't know. I'm sure you listened to the show.
Yeah.
Dan and Amy had this guy on. You've got to get this book. There are 2 investment firms in Chicago, all right? And it's they're Barack Obama's. One's his wife's brother's best friend. Okay, this guy was a basketball player. I want to say it's called, I'm looking this up. See, this is the nice thing about being on a podcast. I don't have commercials. I don't have any of this. So it's Ariel Investments, Obama Shill, and Vistria. These are 2 investment companies. One's Obama's best friends. The other one is the brother of Michelle Obama, which I hope we don't have to pretend she's pretty again in the future. Anyway, and these companies strictly are set up to do what's called smash and grab, where companies go in and the government goes in, they regulate companies till where they almost go bankrupt. These guys come in and they buy the whole thing. Then the regulations go, the problems go away, company goes back up, and they sell it. It's insane. And Valerie Jarrett with the property interwoven with the Pritzkers. And look at what's happening. Now, you hear me, I can't stand Rauner. I never bought his shtick. And you know why, Bob? Because
go ahead.
When you're worth hundreds of millions and your second wife is ugly, you're done making decisions for me. You're done making decisions for anybody, for God's sakes. I mean, if that doesn't say, you're worth hundreds of millions. Why would you want to wake up next to that thing? Anyway, the money that they made in targeted real estate, where they knew highways were going on, where they knew government projects were going in, you're in the tens of millions of dollars. And all you got to do is say her name. And instead of people being repulsed the way I am, she's cheered. These are Chicago royalty. The bigger crook you are, as long as you preach a fake socialism, the more successful you are. It's crazy to me. And you know what, Bob? That's why I opened up Liberty Real Estate in Florida. That's why when you come to me and you come to the cigar store and you say, hey, I want to buy an investment property, I tell you, unless you hate your money, you don't buy it in Illinois. I don't care if you pick Florida, where I represent, but pick a state where your money's going to be safe, because you do things for your kids. Don't we all really do things for our kids?
Yep.
And yet all we do is have our money stripped away. Bob, thank you so much. I enjoyed the phone call very much. So see what's nice, Mr. Producer? Look at Jim. I'll tell you what, you're going to fit right in as a producer, Jim. You got the pot belly. You don't pay attention when I talk. It's like having George here. Your head's a little smaller, more towards the normal size. Jeff, thank you so much for calling in Munster, Indiana. How are you?
Good. How are you, Shaun?
Good, buddy. Thanks for calling.
Even though I live here in Indiana, I live in Lake County. You were talking about the Democrats always seizing the power and everything, and this is the thing that really gets me. They always in these counties, like Cook County, Illinois, and Lake County, Indiana. I think they purposely try to find a real lame Republicans to run against. Because even like in my county, we got a guy, Peter Viskowski.
Oh,
he's been here forever.
Mm-hmm.
He really hasn't done anything, but nobody runs against him because of the steel workers and the oil BP chemical guys, all that. This is it's all like a cash grab.
Jeff, you know why I talked
about the Democratic Party around here.
Jeff, you know why I talked about Hassert in the beginning, because that's not a name you heard about anymore. There's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason I did that, and I talked about Hassert to show you that the groundwork is this: the Democrats and the Republicans, they're not really enemies once they get to Washington. You realize that, right? They're not really.
No, they're drinking buddies.
Oh, it's not only are they drinking buddies, they're business partners. They're money-making partners. So all they really need to do is say, you want to make money or you want to make waves? And you take a guy like Hassert, who aside from the fact he was a scumbag pedophile and hid it that nobody knew, went to Washington and sold you that conservative. He's that Reagan-era Republican. He's really, if you listen to him when he was running, he was hardcore conservative. He'd be considered one of the Tea Party guys. But what did they show him? Hey, Hassert, you fat slob. You want to make some real money, dummy? Well, then this is how you do it. We're going to tell you where the highways are going. We're going to tell you where the government projects are going in enough time for you to steal the property from the unknowing farmer, from the unknowing widow. And we're going to make you worth tens of millions, fat boy. And here's all you got to do. Nothing except what we tell you to do. And that's what really has been happening in Washington since Joe Kennedy was able to stick one of his kids there. Because that's what he used to do. You want to know, I saw your thing, it said conspiracy with the Dem. You know what the real conspiracy is? To fraud the people. It's always been the conspiracy of the tyrant. Fraud the people. Sell them fake safety. Sell them fake prosperity. Sell them fake rights. And in the meantime, profit like there's no tomorrow, because there isn't. Because they never know when it's going to go away. Which is why John Bainer, I sell real estate in South Florida. And I sell it on both coasts. I go back and forth, back and forth. And my biggest sale in Florida, I was lucky enough to get a sale. It's a place on Marco Island. It's called oh God, I can't remember. The Belize. It's the Belize. It's a 4-tower development in Cape Marco. That's it. Oh God, Cape Marco, and it's called the Belize. And it's a building that, Jeff, when you walk in it, you feel like I don't know how these people know that they died, because they live in heaven. It's that kind of a building. And the view is of the Gulf, all right? And it's from every room. And the people that are in there are mainly people who are retired, who have worked their whole life and have money. Like the average condo, I don't think there's one for less than $980. Everything's $1 million, okay? And the higher you go, the one on the top is $13 million. $13 million for the penthouse, okay? So you're living like a prince in Saudi Arabia. John Bainer, who's never had a job, he lives on the 19th floor. What do you mean you live on the 19th floor? How in the hell could you live on the 19th floor? And here's the other thing. He walks around and he's a joke of the island. I know this because I actually talked to the actual people who live there, the people who live in the little ranches and are hanging on by a thread. He walks down the street with 4 of his security guards. And they push people off the street. The one guy, an old man from New York, who I love him to death, he was a mailman, and he retired down there years ago. And he tells me, this son of a bitch tried to push me off the sidewalk. I said, what? He goes, yeah. He tried to push me off the sidewalk with my dog. I told him, get the hell out of here. I pay for this sidewalk. This is how they really think in private. They think you're scum. They don't represent us. They think we're scum and we're stupid. And we have too much freedom for our own good. That's why I really freak out when the Republicans do this shit. I can say all that, right? Yeah, we're on a podcast. Yeah. All right, listen, Jeff, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This is where we talk like regular guys. I don't know if that's going to make anybody mad. Sorry about that. Mike in Orland Park. Look at this. I got more calls than most people, most shows. Go ahead, Mike.
Hey, Shaun, how are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Hey, Shaun, you and we met at the cigar night this past summer with Larry Elder.
Oh, sure.
I was the only guy wearing the Make America Great hat.
I remember you because you came up with that Caddyshack hat on and you wanted me to say it's okay, but go ahead.
I just wanted to wish you well on your inaugural. I keep trying to listen to your broadcast on Sunday nights, but some of us we have real jobs we have to get up for in the morning to support all the leeches of society.
Brother, I know. I believe me. I half the time I don't even know what day it is. We're 7 days a week, 3 jobs. I love it, but I have to do that because they've eaten away at my money. They've eaten away. See, I'm one of these stubborn son of a guns, and I won't take the subsidy for Obamacare, and I won't convert the policy. So my wife, believe me, this has almost led to a divorce on numerous occasions. I went from paying $506 a month, where I used to complain, because I don't go to the doctor. My kids, we don't go to the doctor. I say, look at this. I could buy a car with that. Well, now I pay $2,200 a month. I could buy a freaking house with it. And I won't take the subsidy. So what do I do to offset it? I work constantly. And so I get it when you say I got to work. The only difference is I try not to sleep. But here's the nice thing. You can get the shows on iTunes. Not that I'm still not comfortable with self-promotion. It's like the worst thing. I'm the worst at that. Or you'll be able to get all these shows too if you don't catch them live. they'll be all over the internet. My understanding is we're going to have a YouTube station. You know, it's hard because we kind of rushed it. We were trying to get it at the cigar store, but the technology with the calls and the board, it was too much. We had to buy something, and right now we're not going to do it. So we're going to ease into it and see how it goes. So this call means a lot. So I want to thank you, Mike, for calling.
Well, I just want to thank you for you put out some great tweets out there, and I love those rants that you come up with in the morning with Dan and Amy.
Yeah, it's a combination of all kinds of frustration. Not sex, though. I'm not a pervert. All right, let's go to Matt in St. Charles. Matt, means a lot for me. You called and you hung on. Thank you.
Hey, Shaun, how's it going? Long-time listener. Well, at least the last 2 years.
Thank you, buddy.
I had a quick question for you. I know Crazy Uncle Joe is coming to St. Charles, I think tomorrow, with Lauren Underwood. How do you feel about that race as far as Underwood versus Holmgren? Do either of them really deserve a vote?
Well, here's the thing. Underwood is such a radical socialist. She's telling you that Obamacare is not only working, but needs to be expanded. And here's the thing, and I'm so glad you contacted me on this because I wanted to discuss this. Obamacare has failed on all fronts except one. And you know what that one is? It has subsidized insurance companies to the tune that has made them the ones that survived has made them extremely valuable and virtually the staple of all investment companies. So see, the politicians knew that Blue Cross Blue Shield was the best position and that they would allow maybe 2 or 3 other ones to pretend they have competition. So after the stock plummeted, after Obama first introduced a system that kills insurance companies called Obamacare, they all swooped in and bought these companies. And the minute that they became hybrid with the government and we started with those monthly subsidies of hundreds of millions a month, the stock price shot up. So they've all made a ton of money in it. So Obamacare isn't about Matt or Shaun or my producer with the potbelly. It is about paying off insurance companies. It is about establishing profits forever. So the pharmaceutical company, and it gives them something to run against. Here's the problem. I think even the Democrats like Underwood, who is a fraud. I'm sorry, she just is. You're a doctor? You want me to believe you're a doctor? Oh, and by the way, you want socialized medicine. You know what? You know why? The only doctors that like socialized medicines are the ones that suck. The ones that are good and want to be paid on how they do, they're long gone or they're in private. They don't take insurance anymore. So the doctors that suck, that are pretty much postmen with lab coats, they're okay with socialized medicine. And that's what Underwood is. So anybody that's telling you to expand this healthcare system needs to be voted against. It's a shame. Now, Holmgren, I don't know much about him. I actually think I met him at a golf outing once. He's kind of one of these Pat Brady Republicans where they just want to know, hey, can I invest in the new pot dispensary or ghetto gaming room? I'd like in on that. And they got this guy who owns over 50% of the video poker machines. I think it's called Blackjack Gaming. And he's a huge contributor to these guys. He just, it's a money laundering scheme. So I think Holmgren's in on that scam. But so what? In Illinois, unfortunately, he's among the best you're going to get. This is what Illinois has become. Illinois is a joke. And you know what's funny? Matt, when you drive, like when sometimes I'll drive to Florida. Sometimes I just can't afford the ticket, and I just drive because I have to drive. And you stop in other states, and people see your car with the Illinois plates, and they're like, you from Chicago? Yeah, I'm from Chicago. Whew, that's just crooked. I mean, we're a punchline to the most backwater people in the universe. They know that Cook County, Chicago, Illinois, is the real mafia. Isn't two Italian guys having espresso in a club. It's City Hall. That's the mafia. You want to know what a crime family is? The Chicago Democrat Party. That's a crime family. So you got to try to fight against them, and I'm all Holmgren with that race. But this is important, Matt. These are the kind of things you got to do. You got to do the individual races. And here's the other thing. I mean it. From the governor's race, throw Rauner out. Scum.
I wasn't going to vote for him anyway.
Scum, scam artist. I got a big argument with Proft during the first election. He's like, what do you mean you're not going to? I said, I see this Trojan horse of fraud a mile away. He's a scumbag. Scumbag. And what did he do? Everything he's done has attacked conservatives. What policy has Rauner implemented that attacked socialist Democrats? Which one? You can't name one because he didn't do anything except try to strengthen them. Matt, Thank you so much for calling. I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me when people take time and they call. I mean it. We're only supposed to go an hour, right? Because I'll keep going, you son of a gun. I'm kidding. Look at it. He's doing the wrap-up. You just want to go home, girl. All right. Before I go home, we got another caller. We'll take the other caller. But before I go home, I want to tell you why I say it's about the actual politician. You have to go after the politician. Now, the worst thing you could do is fight a cult with a cult. Now, here's the thing. Donald Trump is great on some things, and some of his comebacks, I'll tell you what, priceless. Love it. When he goes after the regulation, when he talks about, eliminating jobs, or when he does eliminate jobs in government, I love that too. I hate anything to do with increasing government power. I hate anything to do with government spending. Moreover, I hate anything to do with government borrowing, because it's not as bad as what Bruce Rauner does to the kids, but it kind of is, because it gives the weapon to make those kids slaves. So are you better off dead or a slave? I don't know. But I will say this. When you borrow twice the money in 2018 that you did in 2017, like the Republicans did, that's rough, baby. I got a problem with that. Justin in the control room. All right, let's go to Justin in the control room. Hello, girl.
You made a comment about Bruce Rauner, and I want some clarification on this being I see myself as a Republican.
Okay.
And you said we shouldn't vote Rauner because he's, a hack or whatever.
No,
okay.
A saboteur, but go ahead.
Saboteur. So Rauner's in a good spot, though. He's got the Republican Party doesn't know who to vote for, because they vote for Rauner, you get 4 more years of Rauner. You vote JB, you got a Democrat in office.
We got a Democrat now in office. That's number one. Number two, I don't remember, because I've invited you to the cigar store. Even though we like our men to dress like men there, I still have said you can get the exemption. Do you smoke cigars, kid?
Yeah, I smoke cigars.
Okay. This is what I'm holding before you and on the camera right here. This is a South American Avo Ritmo. It is probably among my favorite. It has a Brazilian binder that just the natural earth, that leathery texture with that coffee hue. It's delicious. I will bet you 3 of these that Bruce Rauner loses by the largest Republican margin, or by the largest margin in Illinois history.
No, I get that, but who are we voting for?
Not
Us
voting.
as Republicans.
No, me and you, we don't vote, kid.
Not voting does no good.
Oh, poppycock. Not voting among people who know the difference is the most honorable thing you could do, because you have refused. Honorable, baby, because you have refused to compromise your positions. Not voting under these circumstances is truly for the man with the most integrity and the most knowledge.
We sit back and let this Democrat prance into office, tax us to death, and just sit back and do nothing.
There's one of my favorite sayings. We have smart listeners, I could already tell. And the guy called up and he quoted Aristotle. Well, there's another famous saying. It's better to die on your feet than live on your knees. And when you compromise with yourself, when you bend your principles and your fundamentals, you're going on bended knee for a profiteer, low-life scumbag who's going to stab you anyway. Bruce Rauner has stabbed us and will do it again. So the greatest message you could do is get off my team, scumbag, to Bruce Rauner. And take that dog-faced boy you call a wife with you. Get out. What do you think of that?
So instead of getting down on our knees for Rauner and not voting Rauner in again, we should get down on our knees, get taxed.
No,
get it in the rear end. Taxed out the rear end.
You stand on principle. You stand on principle. You're going to get taxed up your ass anyway. We could say that. It's a podcast. You're going to get taxed anyway. You understand? You're just going to. Here's what you do. You move, kid. You move, or you take the other approach that I practice this. And, I had friends make fun of me. I stopped producing. I work for myself. There will be a certain point, my best friend's my accountant, there's a certain point where I just stop producing. Because you know something, kid? If I'm going to get penalized for making money, I'd rather sit on my ass, call a radio station, take this, this is next to no money. Take this and stand with principle and with fundamental rather than fund the beast. I can't see the sign he's holding up. What does it say?
Cash Jackson, but there's no way no way that's good. Cash Jackson would ever win.
I've met Cash Jackson. I like Cash Jackson. I have 3 fundamental problems with Cash Jackson. Number one, the immigration issue. Now, that being said, I come to you as a Republican who would be thrown out of a Trump rally. Well, that ain't going to happen. And to a certain extent, I don't necessarily believe that you could, number one, physically. You can't. It's moronic because you're seizing private land to do it. And I have a more important for private home land ownership. But number two, I want a fluid system of I think about me and you, Justin. If you're a kid, what are you, like 7? If I had you and you were my little baby and I said, come on, Justin, put your sister's clothes on and come with me because we're fleeing Czechoslovakia and we're going to go to America. I want a system like it was in all those movies. Are you sick? Are you a criminal? Do you want to be American? If you answer 2 no's and a yes, come on in, baby. You're an American citizen. But you're entitled to nothing. So Cass Jackson he grabbed the dumbest of all talking points, which is separate the families at the border. That's Cass Jackson's thing. Well, we shouldn't separate families at the border. Well, should we separate families in the ghetto? You know, when the scumbag father robs a liquor store, should we separate the families then? Or should they all go to prison, or do we let the father free? See, that's the unintelligent argument. I'm not wrapping up, baby. It's my show. That's the unintelligent argument Cass Jackson grabbed at. So I won't bend my fundamentals with that because he cannot articulate, as a libertarian, I find it most nauseating. He should be saying, here's how you solve the immigration problem. No welfare for anybody, let alone the brand new citizen. You of all people. You want to solve immigration and end it overnight? For 3 generations, anybody who comes here cannot qualify for any social benefits. Everybody who sends their kid to school will be given a bill for that kid. That kid, that's what you do. You pay for your kid. You won't be, we've lured them here. That's where the Democrats out-chess us. They knew to advertise. So that's the number one issue with me and why I won't support him. I'm sorry. I like him. He's my favorite of the guys, but no. And then the family law thing, that's the other big thing with libertarians. Family law, the divorce judge says I got to give 40% to my kids. Shut the hell up. I give 100% to my kids, you moron. That's what having kids are. Complain to me about your child support? Get the hell out of here. I don't care. Stay with your wife. Tough it out like the rest of us. Anybody could take off. No. You make a commitment, you abide by the commitment. The only place you practice socialism is in your own house when you get home and you give money to a bunch of people that probably give you the finger when you walk away. That's how it works. Don't complain to me about your familial situation. I don't care. So I don't have a problem with it. And the other thing that the libertarians, their new big thing, all of a sudden they are like these scumbag lawyers that don't want to pay their mortgage. Never give up the land. Get the hell out of here, you moron. Did you sign a promissory note? And pay your freaking mortgage, because if you don't do it, it hurts your neighbors. So I'm not in for a penny, in for a pound.
All right. So I get this whole Cass Jackson thing.
I could go on for hours.
You're not going to vote.
No.
I'm voting. I'm writing in Dan Proft.
There you go. Now, that's a principled thing. Me, I might do that, too. I might write in Dan and his dog, Hayek. I want the lieutenant governor to be Hayek. All right? Listen, I guess this is it. I got to go open a cigar store in downtown Elmhurst, Illinois, the Elmhurst Cigar House. Or if you're going to do, and here's the other thing, kid. You got to move, especially you're young. You got no responsibilities. Call Liberty Real Estate Services. We're wrapping it up. I got the big guy here. Listen, I've had a great time. First show. I think we're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to do it on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then the Sunday show at Sunday night. Thank you so much for listening to the maiden voyage of the Liberty Hour podcast. A couple swear words, not too bad. Goodbye.